Hey, 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 thanks for being in the REC experience. I'm your host, Takhar, with your girl, Laura Elto Stewart.
Hello. It's good to be back.
What's going on? You're inside the studio. I'm outside. It's boiling hot in the city of Toronto. It's like 32, 33 degrees. And we have to practice physical/social distancing.
That distancing.
Is right. How does it feel to be back in the studio for you, girl?
Like, the studio feels good, but I gotta say, it feels even better to be in your seat for once. I'm in the captain's chair over here.
What are you talking about? That's not even fair, because I don't want the viewers. Hang on here, Laura. I don't want the viewers and listeners to think, even for a second, that I actually have a chair in that place. I move around if there's anyone who has a chair in that place, it's you.
That's true. However, I think we all know that you like to sit in this spot a lot to do all your podcasts and whatnot. And I got to say, I mean, it kind of feels like I could delegate a whole lot from here. I could ask people to send emails on my behalf from here. It'd be great.
Well, look, I learned a lot of delegation and a lot of tips and strategies. I call them kind of hacks from our guest today. It was like a complete honor. I was so excited to have you. You're going to be able to tell when you listen to this episode and when you see this episode. We had the legend, Mark Victor Hansen, co-creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul. This man has sold over 500 million books. 500 million books, Laura. How inspiring.
The number just seems like something you would make up almost. It's any author's dream, any writer's dream, anyone's dream, period, because, I mean, it just goes to show the type of reach that his books have. And it's not all the same books, obviously, Chicken Soup for the Soul, but he's done a lot of other books and collaborations along the way. What a fascinating man. Just absolutely incredible.
I mean, he's just the type of guy that he is. After, like, we were off air, and he just put me into he gave me so many introductions to some huge names that we're going to be having podcast episodes with in the very, very near future. And but more importantly, he essentially gave all his tips and tricks within this episode just to teach people that we all have a book in us. We really do. I don't care what you do. And I think it was timely for us, Laura, because you are in the process of ghostwriting a book for me about kind of my story, but more importantly, the mindset and the tactics. And now you're going through a course that we've enrolled in, which is Mark Victor Hansen's course. Like, it's a no-brainer that if the guy who's done 500 million copies is teaching a course, it makes sense to do it. And it's not that expensive. It really isn't, especially if you're thinking about writing a book. But what are you learning through this right now?
Well, that's just it. Like, I think the episode, people will gain a lot, like, because he does give a lot of detail, but obviously the course, you get a lot more detail. I believe it's a 12-week course. Each course is about an hour long. I'm on about the 4th week now. So, and it just gives you ideas on titles. Like, who thought you don't think that much about, like, the title of your book, or maybe you do, but maybe you should think even more about it, just the importance of it and how to go about writing a book, how to sit there and continuously write. A lot of people get writer's block, so he kind of like works you through a lot of that. And me having no real writing background, I mean, I write my own blog.
What do people find the blog?
I have no like education in it or anything. I didn't go to school for this. And so it's nice to get some really good, solid tips and tricks.
Well, I want people to kind of get a sense of your writing, because obviously you're doing the ghostwriting for me. Where do people get more information on your blog, where it really is? You titled it Laura's Playlist, which the first time I heard it, when you told me about it, I was like, hands down, because you are, I used to nickname you Crazy 8. You're all over the place. Your blog
I like to think of myself as a little bit eclectic when it comes to my music style, and eclectic when it comes to my writing. And so I write about everything. I write about my work life, my personal life, my experiences growing up, fashion, beauty, real estate, like everything that really encompasses my life and my journey. And so Laura's Playlist seemed fitting. You can read up on all of it at medium.com/Laura's Playlist. Go check it out. and let me know what you think. And let me know if maybe Jazz should get a new ghostwriter to write his book.
Yeah, no, actually, yeah, I guess it's more of a beta test than anything else. I want to see if.
Yeah, I know what you're doing here. I know what you're doing. You're testing me.
Yeah, don't worry. I got you, girl. I got your back. You got nothing to worry about. Even if people don't think it's good. Hi, Spency. And so I wanted to also give a big shout out to Mark's team, Mark Victor Hansen's team, for putting this podcast episode together. Where can people get more information, Laura, on this course that we're enrolled in right now, which is a no-brainer for anybody who's ever, like, if you ever sat there and said, wow, I would love to write a book and I don't know where to start and I don't know if it's going to make sense for me, like, why should I be an author? Who the heck's going to read it? Who's going to care? This course is going to answer all these questions for you and, more importantly, inspire you to get started. Where do people get more information on the course, Laura?
So we'll definitely include a link to the course if you look just in the description of this podcast episode. But essentially, if you just Google, "You Have a Book in You," Mark Victor Hansen, it should come up. I strongly recommend it for any of you wannabe authors or already are authors. He does go on to say you need to view yourself as a brand. Okay, so don't just think of your book as a one-hit wonder. You only got one book in you. We all have hundreds of books in us. So I definitely suggest picking it up. It definitely will hopefully inspire a lot of you and provide some really good insight as to how you can like make this a lasting impression, a legacy, what you can leave behind.
And lastly, we've been getting a lot of questions about, guys, where do we go to get kind of all your content and pick and choose how we can listen to it, read it, or watch it? So we've been listening to all the feedback and seeing all the questions come in. So I've made it very, very easy for you now. You go to jazztakhar.ca. That's JASTAKHAR.ca. There's also a place where you can subscribe to our new up and coming, and I'm very excited about this monthly newsletter where all the tips, the strategies, the daily clips, the nightcaps with Jazz that live on Instagram every night, Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. You're going to get all the recordings, all of our podcasts, video and audio. You can subscribe to this. It's just an email. There's no cost to it. But first, go to jazztakhar.ca. For this episode, please give us your feedback. Let us know if you joined the course. Let us know what you're thinking about it. And make sure you guys have a fantastic week.
Enjoy the show.
REC Experience presents Real Estate, Entrepreneurship, Leadership with your host, Jazz Takhar. The REC Experience podcast is now on air.
Yeah, hey, how are you?
I'm good. I apologize. We've had some internet connections and internet problems here all day. I truly, truly appreciate
no. Listen, I'm glad to be with you. I'm honored, thankful, and congratulations on your vast success.
Wow, thank you. I mean, I can't tell you how much that means coming from you. And so I've been working in the sales and service industry for about 25 years. And then about 2.5 years ago, I decided to start personal branding. And I don't have a formal education. It all kind of happened from personal education, books, Chicken Soup for the Souls, audiobooks, workshops, seminars. And so I wanted to just start a podcast. I heard this word called the podcast, started doing some research. I said, you know what? I don't mind speaking into a mic, and I'll set up a studio. This is all kind of my media wall, and that's right there. You'll say that's my executive producer, Laura. Laura, say hi to Mark.
Hey, Laura. Nice to meet you.
And then just kind of did some artwork in the back and started taking this really, really, really seriously. Spent about 60-70% of my time in branding, which obviously has helped significantly my real estate business.
Well, how did it help your real estate business, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah, so what it did is just I had people's awareness, right? And so I got out there, I started talking about my passions, which is real estate, but really is helping, I'm really wanting to inspire people, right? And so I actually wanted to show you something, if you have a sec. Laura, can you just grab that? I don't want to ruin the papers. I'm actually in the process of writing a book, and that's why I want to, this podcast couldn't have come at a better time, because I know with the program you have, which I'm going to get no matter what. You'll tell me where to get it and I'll sign up right away. We're going to push it to all my viewers and listeners. But this is kind of the workings of the book. Laura's also my ghostwriter. I can't write an email if my life depended on it, Mark.
By the way, Chaz, I hope you're taping right now. Have you been taping since?
I've been taping this whole thing.
I need you to give a copy of that, because here's what I'm saying. And by the way, we ought to do it. Just keep doing it off the cuff. Is it 3 things? You can write it. You can co-author it, meaning you and her. I don't know if you want to give her credit or not. Or she can ghost it and you take all the credit. It doesn't matter how it gets done. It matters that it gets done, and it matters that it's your input. And what you're really doing is you're putting your spirit into it, because I've never defined it. I was writing it just now, but I think a book is congealed soul, spirit, energy put out. And that's what's going to boost you to your that's what's boosting you to your destiny. Can you hear okay?
Yeah, perfectly.
And by the way, I've never said that before, but seeing as I'm writing more than I've ever written, and I thought I wrote a lot before, but we're shut down, and we decided to, first of all, we wrote this book, Ask, and then it's going to change people's lives. We can talk about that. And then we wrote a book called To Help Everybody How to Be Up and Down Times, which you can go to markvictorhansen.com and get free. I wrote it with the lady who does 22 million chickens a week, Purdue Chicken. I don't know, what city are you in?
I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Yeah, so I'm sure you got Purdue Chicken there, whether you know. If you go to Costco, it's Purdue Chicken. You don't know it, but it's antibiotic and it's cheap. It's like here in America, I don't know what it is. I've been to Toronto 100 times, but because Bob Proctor and I were partners for a long time. So been to Yonge Street everywhere, but it is here it's $4.99 for a big chicken. The pre-cooked, probably there at 6 or 7 or 8.
You know how it is in Canada. We pay a little bit more than you guys do over there.
Right.
So, I appreciate.
It's exciting for me. First of all, I congratulate you. I want, and the bottom line is, I want everyone to write a book, because when you write, you start to think. And I think if you take it from a spiritual point of view, because spirit runs a mind runs a body runs the result. Is I see it, and if you see it different, you're allowed to say, I don't see it that way, but we'll discuss it. And I'm open to discussing anything, because, the beautiful thing about writing is somebody will tell you, you're sculpting this, Bubba, and I'm going to edit you and make it work. And that's okay with, meaning me, Bubba, not you, Bubba. That's what I have enough trouble editing myself, but I got plenty of editors editing me and saying, that ain't true. And I go, well, I'll look at it. No, I think it's true. So I keep it.
Well, for my viewers and listeners right now, I am honored, and I mean honored, to be having a conversation with this gentleman, Mr. Mark Victor Hansen, the man himself. Over 110 million books sold.
500 million.
Whoa! Okay, so I apologize. 110 million is what I thought. Half a billion.
You're taking old stuff. I keep selling more. So
okay, guys.
I don't know who sent you the PR. But
well, I got an old version of it, and I'm glad that it came out right here, because just so anybody who's watching, you understand that, hey, you make mistakes sometimes, but when you're speaking with someone like Mark, he's there to correct me. It's 500 million books sold. Like, when you hear that, what do you think? Like, how does that make you feel, Mark?
Well, you got to remember, we started out with 144 rejections. And what happened is they said, hit the road, Jack. I was working with Dr. Jack Canfield, and I said, look, it's okay if you don't like him, but I'm a really nice guy. Jack is wonderful, so I'm just teasing, of course. And Jack and I, spent decades together, of course. But
another book, and not to cut you off, sorry, Mark. I mean, another book that is very close. Guys, I mean, one of the main reasons, I mean, we got to 500 million copies was Chicken Soup for the Soul series. This is the gentleman that has written those books, and Jack, who I guess was your co-author, also wrote a book that I've read a couple of times and listened to the audiobook, which is The Success Principle. So sorry to cut you off. So continue.
No, and Jack is really solid in that. I mean, he is well trained at Harvard. He was well trained at Esalen. And I trained him.
I love it. Hey, Jack, if you're watching and you're listening, we love you, and Mark does too.
By the way, we all need co-authors, because once you wake up your writing spirit, and I think everyone has a writing spirit, and right now, because we're all sequestered. We're all self-incarcerated or government-imposed incarcerated. It is time to wake up the glory of writing, because the minute you write, you start to think. The minute you start to think, you wake up new possibilities. And everyone right now has got to re-vector, re-pivot, rethink, just like you have. And it doesn't matter whether you're educated or uneducated. It matters that you just have the desire that'll get you to rise higher and higher. Because the goal, like we wrote and asked, is, the bridge from your dreams to your destiny. And if you're alive, you have a destiny. And one of the destinies, from my point of view, is that everyone listening to you has got to write their book. And so I wrote a book called You Have a Book in You. But more importantly, now we've done a virtual seminar called You Have a Bestseller in You, because there are 7,000 bestsellers a year on just the New York Times list. That doesn't count the list in Toronto, it doesn't count the list in London and in China, where I've sold 374 million books. So, it's amazing what you can do.
Now
you'll do it.
You said something, and we're going to be jumping kind of back and forth. It's my style. I could tell it's yours as well. You mentioned a number. You said 146 rejections. Did I get that number right, Mark?
144.
144 rejections. I love how you actually know the number.
Well, you get pretty stuck in it because you got to write it and then you got to keep consistent. Otherwise, it looks like you're not telling the truth and you're making it up. But
I got it.
You got stacks of pinks. By the way, I thought about it yesterday. I was writing about this. I said, when Jack and I got all those pink slips from Random House and from Morrow and from Simon & Schuster, they're always pink. And what I wrote yesterday, I've never written before, I said, it must be to soften the blow, because you're going, we're ripping this son of a bitch's heart out.
It's so true.
I just spent 3 years writing this book with Jack, and you don't like it. And our spouses were complaining and saying, what are you guys just doing with each other? Because no one wants your damn book. And ultimately, our agent fired us. I will not mention his name. He's a nice guy, but he lost at least $15 or $20 million by doing that. Anyhow, we went to the American booksellers. We come in with backpacks, Jazz, and we got filled with stuff. And for 3 days, we went from booth to booth to booth and kept getting rejected. Finally, at the last day, one little publisher, which we didn't know was in trouble financially, two Canadians that are down in Deerfield Beach, Florida, Health Communications. One guy read it and said, I cried all over my silk shirt, we'll take it. But you got to promise us before we put it in books distribution, you'll sell 20,000 copies from platform, because Jack and I are both speaking to about 250,000 people a year. And you got to pay $6 each. Well, that meant we owed $120,000 just to get to do it. So it's sort of a vanity press. I would not recommend that. I got a lot better ideas, which I teach in the virtual seminar, and I'll tell you everything I know, depending on what you ask. I mean, I'll because I believe I use everything.
Yeah, but now going back to those 144, like after the 32nd one, really after the 13th one, most people quit. Then you got to 37. Then you got to 82.
Quit.
Exactly. Most after, the first time they hear no. I have a sales and service background, so I always like to say that I've heard way more no's than I've heard yeses, but it's those yeses that have changed the course of my life. But how did you and Jack, you're hearing no's? You guys are quite successful at this time. You're on stage. You don't really need to keep on doing this. You keep on hearing no's. Your spouses are telling you, you two are the craziest people on earth. What kept it going for you?
Well, Peter Guber, the guy who's got 50 Academy Awards, owns the Golden State Warriors. He's my dear friend. He says, I am so dyslexic. Now, I'm not dyslexic, meaning you read backwards and upside down, but he said, Mark is so good at taking a rejection. He thinks when somebody says no, it means on.
I love the mindset change. I love it.
so the principle, by the way, I try to give attribution. If somebody gives me a great line, I'll give you attribution to what you did to start this. Right? You give credit to whoever credit belongs to, if you can remember. And most of the time I've got a really good mind. So, but I started at 9 years old selling because my parents couldn't afford a bicycle. I didn't get it, right? They're Danish immigrants. They're not making any money. And I want today a bicycle like I wanted was like a Trek, a $4,000 to $7,000 bike. And they go, 9-year-old, get the hell out of here. You can't buy that. No. So I said, Dad, can I have it if I earn it myself? Do you have any kids?
Yeah, I got a 4 and a 6.
Okay, so you're about to get hit with ask for whatever they want, right? We got 5 kids in 6th grade.
Wow! Congratulations! That's awesome.
We love every one of them, and if you've seen pictures of my wife, she's gorgeous, brilliant, wonderful. You need to have her on a show separate from me. Anyhow,
for sure. Done.
Okay, good.
Consider it done. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I like about guys like you and I. when we got ADD, which I'm sure both of us do, it means plus. It means add. We just add delight, but we do it fast, and we do it faster than most people because most people go, Jazz didn't really sell all that real estate. Mark didn't really sell all those books. No, you didn't. We did.
Guys, for the guys and gals that are watching and listening right now you know why I was so excited to have Mark on, because just the energy that you bring, like it's amazing. So for everybody who's watching and listening, make sure you look at the show notes here, in the comments, wherever, around me, around Mark's head, you'll see it digitally. Get to his website. Make sure and just start doing even more of a digital a deep dive on him. If you have not heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul, I really think that you were probably like hiding somewhere under a rock or something. It is the book of all books. It's the series of all series. How many versions of Chicken Soup for the Soul are there now, Mark?
254, but I've got 309 bestsellers because I am, if you're going to do something like what you do, be prolific. Because if you're going to do massive right thinking, then you got to take massive right action. You're going to ultimately, inevitably get massive right results. It's not just for Bill Gates, it's for each and every one of us. All of us got great riches, great talent, great ability. And look, I'm not sure, but here's what I believe. I believe, first of all, you got to know what to ask yourself. And ask yourself, I want to be an author. Then once you say that, then what am I going to write? And you say, well, how important is writing? Well, the Bible says, write a thing, make it clear, it shall be established unto you, meaning definite certainty it's going to happen. I wrote down, once I decided that we were going to sell $1.5 million in a year and a half, and Jack and I did $1.3 million. Then I said, look, Jack, we're going to sell $5 million. He was oscillating a little bit. And I said, Jack, look, I'm the salesman, I'm the goal setter, I'm the marketer. Let me just figure it out. And we sold $5 million, then we sold $10 million, then we sold $15 million a year. And my goal was always to sell $1 billion. Now I'm halfway to goal. I'm 72 years old, but my written goal is I'm going to live. I'm right. You want a high quality of life. You have high quantity of life. So I'm going to live the 127th options for renewal. Seems like a good idea to me. And so I'm halfway to goal. And I'm selling more books than I've ever. And people are saying, oh my God, I got to do this. You got to hear this. So the publishing industry, and we're with two houses now, both great publishing houses. I love them. But I won't name their names, but if you buy the book, you'll see it. But both guys saying, hey, look, the bookstores aren't opening and nobody's buying books. And Amazon, I'm selling more books than I've ever sold. I'm, why? Because I'm still working. I'm sitting at home going, we were on one show before your show, then we're on another show in Europe. And then at 5:00, we're on a show in Vietnam. Right. And
look, I love like the attitude from your perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're just getting started. Like, yeah, you're halfway towards your goal, but you're just at the starting line.
Exactly. And I'm having fun. I mean, you and I are here to live and I can see that in your spirit. So I don't mind telling you
Thank
what
you.
I see. But
Yes, please do.
You live a passionately purpose life that's going to fulfill you and then fulfill all the people that want to work with you, because who wants to work? You're so damn boring, John. That's why marriages go like this rather than like this, because you're boring, John or Gene or whatever the hell your name is. Why? You don't know, man. We've been watching TV and Netflix now for 60 days. You go, what the hell? Well, use your brain. Netflix maybe this much, but not that much, and watch news 15 or 20 minutes, but not that much.
Right.
Because you got all this private time now. Now's the time to bring out the glory. Haven't you found when you're writing your book, you're finding out new wonders to your life?
Mark, you're taking the words out of my mouth, man, because I've dedicated myself and my ghostwriter, Laura, you just saw her. We dedicate about 45 minutes to an hour, 2 days a week, because we still have our business to run. She's also a co-host / director of sales and marketing for my real estate company. And I just put in 45 minutes to an hour yesterday, and it was first thing in the morning we did this. And now, like, the rest of the day, and even up until now, there's just so many more possibilities. I say it all the time that opportunities everywhere. You just need to get in the way of it. And now I'm starting, like, I just found myself getting in the way of more and more opportunities as I wrote stuff down. Not me physically. I want to make sure everybody knows that it's not me physically writing it. It's my thoughts. It's my ideas. It's my strategies and tips. But Laura's skill set lies in putting all those words together. but you're bang on, Mark. And obviously I'm talking to the GOAT, the greatest of all time, legit, period, when it comes to writing books. Like, guys, there's you can argue with certain things, who's a better basketball player, who's not. We're speaking and looking at the man who's the best when it comes to coming up with bestsellers. Like, this is it. And so, like, as I was starting to write these pages together and these chapters together, I just, like, so many more opportunities were coming my way.
So let me talk to that 2 or 3 levels. First of all,
Okay.
I believe books, authorship is a wealth of the world. That's why I want everyone to go to my website, markvictorhansen.com, and take our virtual seminar called You Have a Bestseller in You. But now let me talk about your exact example.
Okay.
So Crystal and I, my beautiful wife, and I get invited down to Necker Island. This is Richard Branson, and I'm like you. I'm in, because here's Richard Branson, who's like you. He's totally dyslexic. This guy cannot read. And by the way, he did a magazine called, just real quick through his story and then tell you the example, just like yours. So he's 15, 16 years old and does a book called Student, I think it was called, or something like that. He's selling more records than his thing. And a guy comes to him with long, shaggy hair and says, I can do better music than the Beatles. And he says, what's your name? And he says, my name's Mickey. And so he's goofing around. He says, well, I own a record studio. So that guy, and he said, and Mick said, by the way, I got this woman with me, Janet. She sings better than Michael. And it was Mick Jagger and Janet Jackson. That started Virgin Records when he was 15 or 16 years old. So, awesome. And he's living in a little houseboat and makes all this money. Well, now, fast forward, right? He's does $21 billion worth of companies, and he has 421 companies or something. We're down at Necker Island with him, and I'm writing the book called The Richest Kids in America. I interviewed the 21 kids under 19 that made $1 million, because I think every kid should work. I think everybody has an inner entrepreneur. An entrepreneur takes low value, makes it high value to the marketplace, him or herself, to the future, and then creates a fortune, because everyone's got $1 million ideas. But you can't, but you just said it, you can't wake them up until you start writing. Look, God set it up. I didn't set it up. If you don't like it, argue with a big G. I don't have any arguments there. So Richard said, hey, look, Mark, we're there 7 days with him, having the time of our life, with a lot of little stories. But the story I want you to hear that's just like yours. He says, be here at 7:00 and have your little recorder, my smartphone, ready to record, and we'll rock it, and we're going to do video and all that. I said, fine. I get there, and it's from 6:30 to 6 to 7. He is taping with one of his girls the new book, which obviously I'm part of that and all that. But I read it, and I go, holy cow! All he does is dictate every day for an hour, a half hour, and he comes out with one book a year because he spends 40% of his time promoting. Everybody says, well, everybody knows Richard. It's because he's a promoter, and you're a promoter, and I'm a promoter. You've got to decide to self-promote. So you have a book in you, I start out by saying, here's why you got to write a book. And I give 101 reasons why you write a book. All this stuff, like you're the wealth of the nation. It's the most important thing you can do. It leaves a legacy. It's the only thing that'll outlive you. And on your obituary, it's your name, then your age, then the book you wrote, then your kids, then your businesses. It's fascinating how that works. So all that kind of stuff. Then I say, look, everybody can write a book because everybody could do interviews. And with your permission, I'll talk about that in a second.
I love that. Yes, please do. Yes, go.
Yeah, all the way to chapter 12 is you've got to build I did a whole set of tapes on this call, but it's the last chapter of the book. Make yourself a brand that commands. Now, his brand is Virgin. My brand is books, right? And then they're thoughtful books. And I've got more books. I want to write more books than I've ever written, and they're pouring out of me. And you go, how come? Well, I've read 50,000 books or so, and I've listened to all the tapes. I've attended all the lectures, owned seminar companies, did 100 million. So I've been in the. My wife says you're in the quantum soup.
I like that. I mean, you've done it all. You've literally done it all. In that. The 3 to 5 minutes there, you talk seminar companies, the amount of books, the amount of businesses are just unbelievable. But continue.
I love every second of it. It's been a joy. But like you said, you got it right. All of us are at a beginning now. All of us that are listening have got to repivot. We got to reinvent. We got to re-entrepreneur. We got to rethink. You can't do what we did yesterday. It just isn't the same. I mean, look, I had 2 seminars last month, one with 11,000, one with 13,000 people. Both of them got canceled, and a promoter said, hey, this cost me $5 million. I said, well, look, I am sorry, but it isn't going to happen, so let's do it Zoom. And he said, I don't know what Zoom is. I said, well, you better learn what Zoom is, because it's tomorrow. It's not yesterday. 671 million people joined and did Zooms last month.
Right. You better learn how to do that. Exactly. 100%.
It isn't the past. It's the future. And it's like not knowing how to do a cell phone. Or like I got a friend who didn't know how to text until yesterday. And I said, Bubba, you've been a little slow on this one. You don't know how to text.
Two things I've been meaning to ask you around the rejection. Well, first thing around rejection. For somebody who's watching and listening, how do they take what you, like the 144 pink slips and the other 10,000 rejections you've taken in your life? How does somebody like actually take, like now they heard it, now they know that you've heard a lot, they've heard me say it. How do they actually make use of it in their life? Like when they get rejected, how do they get back up again, Mark?
What they got to do is they got to do 3 or 4 things. First of all, they got to use the most important 4-letter clean word, next, N-E-X-T, and say next. And that's why where you and I, when I started doing this seminar business, I was bankrupt. I was upside down. It's 1974. I had to check a book out of the library, How to Go Bankrupt by Yourself, right? And I'm hiding under sheets for 6 months. And then all of a sudden, you know, we teach in our Ask book, you got to ask yourself, ask others, and ask God. And I said, what do I really want to do? And I really want to speak, and I want to motivate, and I want to do what you did. I listened to all the tapes, and it changed my mind, changed my life. So I want to go share all that. So I am living in Hicksville, Long Island, New York, got 3 roommates. I go to breakfast, and I say, any of you guys know anyone that's young, not a celebrity, not a doctor, not a lawyer, not some famous person speaking? And one of my real estate roommates, John, said, yeah, there's a kid out in Hauppauge, Long Island, New York, talking at 9. He's fabulous. Here's my little ticket. You know, go out there and use my name and get in. I watched this guy mesmerize 500 people. I went, holy cow. I go up to him at the end of the thing, and I said, hey, Chip. His name's Chip Collins. Been my friend forever, of course. But I said, Chip, can I take you to lunch? He says, I love people to take me to lunch. I said, you know, reciprocity and all that. I said, well, tell me how to do this business. He said, look, kid, chance of you making it is 1 in 1,000. You ain't going to make it. I'm going to a vacation 2 weeks. I'll tell you everything to do if you'll do one thing. I said, what's that? He said, stay out of real estate, because I own this market here. And he did. He owned the 5 boroughs in New York at that time. And you go do life insurance meetings. And I didn't know what life insurance was. I didn't know what a premium was. I didn't know what a CLU was. I didn't know anything. So it was amazing. But he told me exactly what to do, and I knocked on 10 doors. One guy said yes. The last guy at 6:30 at night. Nobody calls after 5 o'clock, but there's nobody in the office. I just walked straight down, get in this guy's office. The guy's, he must have weighed 350, 400 pounds if he weighed an ounce, right? I mean, or naked. Yeah. I mean, he was as big as a substantial man. Wonderful. We hit it off. We resonated. And I've been rejected by 9 people. This guy says, Mark, I'll take it. My name's Tony. He said, and Chip taught me the killer question, which I went over 100 times in my mind. Jazz, do you want to pay for this, or do you want to write a check? Here, the line. Do you want to cut the check, or have your secretary cut it? Tony said, boy, I could. And I was charging $25 for first seminar. He said, Mark, remember, I'm talking to an old Italian in New York. He said, Mark, I'm a big boy. He said, I can write a $100 check. Then he did the thing that changed my life. He said, Mark, here's a directory with every one of the other agents. I'm number 1 in the number 1 company in the world, the Metropolitan Life Insurance in New York. You call them. You tell them Big Tony told them they got to hire you because you got guts. You're willing to work your ass off. You will do what you said you'll do, kid. And I expect you to come and do the 4 seminars every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. You got it? Like, I thought he was part of the mafia. The last thing I'm going to do is not show up.
Is not show up. Yeah.
I did 1,000 talks a year for the first 3 years, because I say, look, you got to decide you're going to do something wonderful and then take massive action and then go do it. Most people say, well, Mark didn't really do it. No, I did all those seminars. Only one other guy I know did 1,000 seminars the first 3 years. That's Tony Robbins. I don't know anyone other than the 2 of us that did that much ass-busting behavior. Maybe Wayne Bell.
If somebody's watching or listening and you don't believe that he did this, and I mean, we're not even talking to you. You can stop the podcast now. You can stop the podcast. Yeah, I move over to another one. This is the man. This is the GOAT when it comes to these kind of things, guys. I want you to help me and help my listeners and viewers. I believe that as I was 12, 13, got my first paper route, loved it, couldn't sit in school, loved school actually, just couldn't sit in class. Class and I didn't really get it wasn't the way that I learned. So I started to find my passion. It was going to be with people around me. I loved teamwork. Gym class obviously was my favorite. But there's a lot of people who come and say, I can't find my passion. Jazz, you're always talking about finding your passion, and then don't worry about chasing money. Money will chase whoever brings the most value to the marketplace. And you do that because once you find your passion, you're going to wake up real early. You're going to go sleep real late. But how do I find my passion? What would you say to someone that says that, Mark?
Okay, so it's a purpose triangle. The first thing is, what do you love to do? And then subset of that is, what are you best at? And if you don't know what you're best at, ask your 10 closest friends or relatives, tell me what I'm best at. Well, you and I are best at opening our mouth and talking. And that's, Dale Carnegie said the number one fear is that most people would rather walk through fire, which Tony Robbins gets.
Well, I did that at one of his seminars. I love the fire walk. But yes, you're right. Most people would either be giving the eulogy than actually, they would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy, right?
Right. So you got to figure out what you're best at, what you love to do. And then number three, the bottom, the foundation is, what are you going to get paid substantially for? Like when I started speaking, $25 an hour, and then after I had more talks and Chip said, we're going to raise it to 50. And then I started getting scared. And then $100 an hour. Well, now I get nationally, $30,000 a talk when it works. And internationally, like we're in Vietnam a couple months ago again for a second time in a row, $75,000. And I'm telling you, the only limitation when I'm in Asia talking in two communist countries, which I'm opposed to communism, I'm a free enterpriser, and I'm subtly teaching in China, in Vietnam, do not let the Chinese take over. They're dangerous at that level. They're good people, but the ideology is an idiotology, right? You and I are flaming free enterprises. I'm talking for you, but I got an idea it's true.
No, it is 100% true.
The best thing you can do for the poor, not be one of them. Poor people don't help poor people get rich, right? I want everyone to get rich. There's more than enough. We circulate, I don't know what the real number is, but $4 trillion a day. Every one of us can be a multimillionaire. And in the book I give away free, if they go to my website, Up and Down Time, we're teaching even a new business called, I do it as a cliche, I wrote called Trash to Cash, where we're going to take all the garbage dumps and recycle every atom, every molecule of water, metal, glass, plastic, like you and I are drinking out of. And we got to do that because you and I, every one of us listening, creates 5 pounds of garbage a day. And that's not going to stop. But it's dangerous, and we got to recycle all those things. Just like you and I got to recycle our own knowledge. And that's why you got to write a book to take yourself from nowhere to somewhere great. Now,
I want to talk about your virtual. Is it a virtual seminar or virtual course that you're launching now? Because I really want to dive into that.
Yeah, it's 12 hours a segment that teach everything I know, and then we open it up to questions at the end. Because everybody asks me the same thing. Like the third chapter is, how do you have a best-selling title? Well, like Chicken Soup for the Soul is unequivocally a best-selling title. Let me just do titles for a second. So, when Napoleon Hill, which I'm sure you've read or listened to Think and Grow Rich by Dr. Hill, right? He originally, do you know what the title was?
No.
It was a terrible title, How to Make a Boodle with Your Noodle. So the publisher said, look, his nickname was Nap, N-A-P, Nap. He said, Nap, if you don't come up with a better title, we're going to go with it, but I don't think it's going to work, How to Make a Boodle with Your Noodle. So
I can't imagine that being titled that.
So, by the way, it sold like 100 million. It got us out of the Depression. 3 books, the first Depression, 1898, Science of Getting Rich with Wallace Wallace got us out. The Depression of Napoleon Hill wrote all the fireside chats for our president, FDR. I don't know if you know that. Like,
I didn't know that. Nope.
Nothing to fear but fear itself. Confront your fears and make it disappear.
Oh, he was the writer of those. I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah, he got paid $1 a year, and so they called him. You'll love this part. They called him Nap the Sap. Right? So anyhow, he goes to bed and he says, I'm going to have a best-selling title. And this is called a thought command. This is how you get your title. And I'm going to show you how we did it with Chicken Soup. Exactly the same thing, except we upgraded it. Is it? And at 2:30 in the morning, it snapped. He said, "Think and Grow Rich." He immediately calls up his publisher. This is the old dial-up day, and the publisher said, "This better be damn good. You're waking me up at 2:30 in the morning, or I'm not going to publish your book." He said, "Think and Grow Rich." Now you stay awake all night.
And he was right.
So Jack and I said, "Look, I won't throw Jack under the bus, but Jack had a title on our book that just didn't work." And I said, "Jack, look, I've written a lot of books, and I got some really good titles, but the title you got doesn't work in my mind. So we're going to give ourselves a thought command. We're each going to go to he lived in Santa Barbara. I lived in Newport Beach. We're going to do 400 times mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title." At 4:30 in the morning, he calls me up and said, "Chicken soup." I said, "For the soul." And we both got goosebumps and knew it would work.
Hang on. So wait. I need to go back for a second. You were saying that affirmation 400 times over and over again to yourself.
You got to give yourself a thought command that goes deep into your inner highermost subconscious mind, or all the way to your soul, as far as I'm concerned. So you do it, and then you fall asleep. You lull yourself to sleep because your subconscious already has all the answers. So this may be too metaphysical.
No, go, please go deeper.
There's only one mind, right? In the old days, we had a lot of gods, but right now there's one God. As far as I'm concerned, there's one God. Now, he's got lots of different names, and it doesn't matter what you call God. God doesn't care. God's neutral. 367 names I'm known for God. But look, there's one God. There's one universal intelligence. There's one mind that created the whole universe. That one mind knows what your perfect title would be. Why not go to that mind? But the only way to get there is through prayer, meditation, and what we call in psychiatry and psychology, deep thought command. Right?
And that's different than just thinking about it.
No.
Yeah, so I wanted to like, and I know Jack was part of The Secret as well, and it's the book and the movie and all that, and it did really well. Just in my personal opinion, there was still one part missing in it. From what I found, just watching people and listening to people that watched the movie and read the book, is that they left out the part that you need to actually feel the feelings and then actually do some work. Like you got to do the work. You can't just think about things and feel things and then leave out the actual grinding and the work, taking the 144 rejections. That's the grind, in my opinion.
Yeah, but by the way, there's a price tag. The price tag, you're hitting it 100% right. I'm so thankful you're willing to do this and go a little deep here, because everybody listening, you got to catch it. Universe is testing you, because it's done unto you according to your belief. Now, the middle three letters of your belief are LIE. You're either lying yourself up by telling yourself, "I'm going to have the world's best-selling title. I'm going to sell more real estate than anyone sold my city or my county or my company," or whatever metrics you want. I don't care what the hell the metric is. Or you're lying yourself down. "I'm not good enough. I can't. I'm too damn lazy. I want to just put my feet up and I'm just going to think about it." No. You got to think and do. You got to think. By the way, because I'm a scholar in Napoleon Hill, I went to Andrew Carnegie's two houses. And if you go to New York when it's open again, it's not safe today. Do not go to New York.
Not yet.
Go to Andy's house at 95th and 5th Avenue. And then the first plaque, it says, "Authors of the Wealth of the World." I changed it to "Author of the Wealth of the Nation." I changed it Wealth of the World. And, he gave us the library system in the world. And then he said, "No man can get rich without enriching all others," which, by the way, see, that's why I said you got to get rich. It is an imperative. And one of the ways to do it is you write a book. It gives you not credibility, it gives you mega credibility. It opens doors that nothing else will do. It opens your mind like nothing else will do. And you say, well, does every rich guy read? Jeff Bezos, the richest guy, started a thing called Amazon Books. Now, I'm the only guy who ever melted him down. I can talk about that if you want.
Yeah, so what happened there?
I'll do that in a second.
Okay.
And the second richest guy is Bill Gates. He takes 2 weeks off every year to read books and write books. Then the third richest guy is our Warren Buffett, who I owned stock in his company at one time and loved. Warren thinking. He is a great writer. He's an English major, and he reads 5 hours a day. Why? Because you got to use your mind.
Now, I want you to talk about Bezos' story there.
So I wrote a book that's still a rockin' bestseller called 1 Minute Millionaire. Now, the 1 Minute Manager is written by our friends Ken Blanchard and Spencer Johnson, but I wrote 1 Minute Millionaire with Bob Allen, who did the book on real estate, Nothing Down, and he wrote a book called Challenge. Bob and I are working on this book, and we're watching Jeff Bezos on TV, and Jeff Bezos says, nobody can sell more books than I, Amazon, the biggest bookstore on earth, can deliver. So I'm sitting with Bob, and Bob and I have been friends for 30 years. I said, Bobby, I think the boy just challenged you. Now, Bob wrote the book Challenge and said, send me to any real estate market, give me $100 to buy $1 million for real estate in 24 hours. And they did it on TV with ABC, I think it was. And then he said, send me to any unemployment line, and I'll make everybody making $5,000 a month within 1 month, and never darken the door of an unemployment line. They videotaped all that stuff. So now Bezos saying, nobody can sell more books than I can deliver. So I said, Bobby, I'm not sure, but I think he just challenged us. Should we melt him? And he said, yeah, let's do it. So we meet with the head of, you can't do what we did then. This is, it came out October 17th, 2001.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great book. It says, everyone has one right, perfect, easy, acceptable way to make $1 million. And there's 1 million ways to make $1 million. I don't care how you make your $1 million, but book writing has got to be on your bucket list as far as I'm concerned. So Bob and I go to Ancestry.com, and they had the biggest list at the time. And the guy running it was not Paul Allen, his name, but not Bill Gates' Paul Allen. Paul Allen of Ancestry created it. And we said, hey, look, we'll give $250 worth of Mark's electronic product, $250 worth of Bob's electronic product. If you buy the book on April 17th, back then Amazon was open from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. That was it. So at 6 a.m. we look, and we're 79,000 on the list. And everybody's buying the book so fast. By 10 o'clock, we're 706 from 70,706, at which time Amazon went, 3 hours later, Jeff Bezos calls me and says, a little profane, but what did you do? And he says, I'm giving you 3 tickets for you guys to come up, because we had a guy working with us, the inside guy. We wanted him to go with us, Tom Painter, so Bob Allen and Mark Victor Hansen. We fly up to, he had better security. We'd already been to the Pentagon doing something. He had better security than
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love the story.
Tell me how you guys melted it. Now, if I knew then that he was going to be the richest guy in the world, I would have brought a video camera. I would have brought a lot more.
Documented that. You would have documented that for sure.
And we had fun with him. And by the way, he's uber bright. There's no question about that. But he couldn't believe that somebody could do it. But we figured it out. That was before spam. You can't do that today, unless you do podcasts with all 800,000 podcasters, which I've got an idea that you and I are going to figure out how to do that. And we'll
definitely. I'm all ears when it comes to ideas from you, my man.
So let me talk about that a second.
Go ahead. Yes. Yeah.
The reason we got to do the podcast, and I'm gonna assume that you're somewhere close to me on this idea, is that there's so much fake news now at every level. Like this virus thing, there's 3 viruses. There's the sickness, there's the fear virus, and then there's the economic virus. All 3 of them could kill you. Fear will kill everybody. Economics is going to wreck the world. I think the only way we can do it is if we can figure out how to unite all 800,000 currently active podcasts and all just do one message one day. And it's got to be the message of free enterprise. My daddy's.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I came up with the idea, and I want to spearhead. I just want everyone to do it. I don't need to be on every podcast, but we got to figure out how to put it together. And I'm telling you, and I'm telling everyone out there, because somebody's going to go, they're going to go in their deeper, innermost thought and come to you and I and say, hey, Jazz and Mark, here's how you do it. Because I don't know how to do it. I just know that if we could do it, if we could turn the ship of state, because right now the ship of state's a Titanic, man. We're hitting an iceberg called, look, some people are going to die. I don't want anyone to die. We got old parents that we love. That's not the issue. The issue is everyone's got to take care of themselves. We've got to have this breakthrough pivot where if you're overweight, you got to go start exercising. You can't keep eating Twinkies. And I love Walmart, maybe. But, the fact is you can't go around in a little electric cart and have nothing but junk food and Coca-Colas or soft drinks. Sorry, I didn't say that.
Well, yeah, no, yeah. Look, I think one thing that's going to come out of this after it all kind of the dust settles is people needing to take care of their immune systems better. Bingo. Because right, if you're not allowing all the negativity like physically get into your body, then your body won't be at dis-ease the word disease comes from dis-ease. You need to protect yourself, and a way to do that is not eat as many Twinkies. No one's telling you never to eat a Twinkie again. Just don't eat 4 in a sitting, maybe. Or maybe don't go to McDonald's and get a Big Mac every other day. Maybe have it once every couple of weeks or something, whatever that might be. But at least take care of our bodies more.
Yeah, and look, you're going to have my wife Crystal on, and she happens to be a lot of things, but one is a nutritionist and a hypnotherapist and all that. But you've got to be doing right nutrition, and right now everybody needs to be taking like 30 milligrams of zinc, Z-I-N-C, every day, because it prevents getting sick. In addition to you need your vitamin C and all that, you've got to exercise. And in our book, this one we did, Peter Guber, he exercises. He's 80 and looks 40, but he said, look, it's a fountain of youth. You got to exercise twice a day, in the morning and at night. And you go, well, wait a second. This guy's a multi-billionaire. He's doing more movies than anyone. He runs the Golden State Warriors. He owns the Dodgers. How the hell does this guy have? Look, when you're a billionaire, you got a billion problems. You haven't got 1,000 or 100,000 or a million. You got a billion. And yet he decides to exercise. And then the most important thing, Beck, because I teach everything's a triangle, is your thinking. You got to be thinking healthy, telling yourself I'm healthy, telling yourself I'm happy. And writing a book is a little bit of stress, but it's EU stress rather than stress or de-stress. And EU, it's exciting. What you're saying is you wake up, you beat in your chest, you say, this is my magnificent deception. Lord and I are going to get this thing done, and we're going to have fun doing it. I'm convinced, and I don't know, but you probably got other titles that you want to write to, other subjects you want to do.
Bang on. Because out of writing this one, Mark, I already got book 2, kind of book 3, but book 2's ready to go. Like I already have it. Like I have I don't have the title yet, but I have the ideas around it, the chapters. I have the content already because I have approximately 10,000 hours of podcast interviews. I got a lot of content. I videotape everything pre-COVID, I had videographers follow me around for about a year period, just talking about what I'm going through as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a real estate investor, and someone who just likes to produce content. So I have all this, and now the books are coming out. So bang on. Like I got the second one, not the third yet, and I'm nowhere near you probably having 300 new book ideas in that head of yours.
We're pretty busy. So, but even when Jack and I started, we sat in my jacuzzi because I was doing pretty well. And one night we had a little bottle of wine that we liked, or maybe 2. Anyhow, we wrote 134 titles of stuff we wanted to write. And it was, and no, we haven't done it. And, Jack's pretty linear on what he wants to do because, he's Harvard. I'm not Harvard. I was asked to teach there, but I could never have gone there. I wasn't smart enough. I was actually making a lot of money all the time and had our little rock group when I was 16. But the point is everyone's supposed to find their destiny, and you're supposed to keep having new destinies. Not me, man. I'm going to make my $1 million and retire. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, he's going to agree. Jad's going to agree. $1 million isn't enough.
No, it's I just love the challenge. I love the process. It's a game now. I love making more. I want to make $1 million for everyone around me. And I know I'll have way more than I've ever dreamt of.
Well, by the way, that's the third line I wrote in 1 Minute Millionaire. I want to create 1 million millionaires. Now, 1 million millionaires is $1 trillion. And some of you say, well, wait a second. Well, come on, Mark. What the heck are you doing? $1 trillion, a T, not a B, a T. First of all, I won't have the T. It's like when you buy a house, right? And somebody builds a house. You don't have $1 million house. The $1 million went in all the doors, the windows, the lights, the fan, the desk, everything. You didn't ever have that million. Now you end up with $1 million house or $1 million estate, right? Or a mortgage or whatever. But the point is, a lot of people got to work. And right now, we've got to rebuild the whole economy, not only for America, not only for Canada, but literally for 8 billion people, because all of us are suffering the same thing. Are we going to get over it? Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
One of the books I want to write is about, I just read Louis Pasteur's book, but I want to, Jonas Salk created Salk vaccine because everyone was getting polio when I was a little kid. I'm older than you. And all of us got a polio. Well, they didn't either got a polio shot or they did a tab. And it was mandated, but we got rid of polio. We're going to get rid of this. There's somebody out there that needs to listen to this podcast and say, hey, wait a second. God bless the medical community. They're smart, but people at the level of the problem usually don't solve the problem.
So true. I love it. I love that. There's somebody who's watching this now, Mark, and saying, you mentioned writing a book. What the heck am I going to write a book about? Where does that idea even come from? I have an idea. You have a lot. But there's somebody who's watching or listening thinking they can't even imagine themselves writing a book. How do they start that process?
Well, first of all, they go to my website and they read all this stuff. And what it's going to do is it's going to trigger a lot of ideas. And if they're a reader, then they're going to know that they got to write a book. And it could be fiction. It could be nonfiction. It could be one of the new zones. There are like 7 zones of writing, but we'll just do the 2 big ones, fiction, nonfiction. And then once you decide what you're going to write, you decide, like you did. One of the processes we have is how do you outline the book? And then what are we going to put in it? And then how are we going to study? And you asked me about files a second ago. My minister in New York was Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, the guy who wrote Power of Positive Thinking.
Yeah.
It sold like 25 million the first year. And when he wrote it, everyone rejected Dr. Peale. And so he took, I got a garbage can right here. He threw it in a garbage can. His wife, who I loved and adored because I went to church, he had the first mega church, 4,000 people. I'm going to do a story about that in a second if you'll let me. Anyhow, she grabbed it and said, Norman, you're not throwing this away. This is a great book. And then he sold 25 million because some little publisher he made very rich by taking it. And it helped turn around the bad economy after World War II.
Amazing. What can people expect from this course?
They're going to learn all the details, like what I'm saying about Dr. Peale, because I traveled around with him talking everywhere in the world. And he'd always carry 2 briefcases, what I ended up carrying because he was old and he was like 87 and I was a young 20-something. I'd carry him. And he said, every year in December, I write down 52 titles of sermons I'm going to do, like how to have everlasting life or whatever the title was. And he says, what's amazing is all the words start pouring in, the stories start pouring in. I sit with somebody on an airplane to tell me a story. I put it in. I listened to back then the radio, today a podcast. They put it in. He said, I travel somewhere and all of a sudden your mind becomes your resource asset, but we're going to teach you exactly how to do it in advance. We teach it step by step. We guarantee that it's not threatening. We guarantee that it's enticing, exciting. And it's like you and I, you're living at the height, depth, and breadth of your being. So it exudes into the people because if somebody's going to do something, the reason you got such a well-listened to podcast is that you're fully, vitally alive, if you don't mind my telling you what you are.
Yeah.
Because you can see
Thank you for noticing.
Yeah. Well, people want people with personality. They want people with enthusiasm. And that's what Peale always taught. Enthusiasm is a spirit within, shown without. It's a Greek thing, spirit.
Awesome.
And so it just, there's so much I want to share with you. So what we do is we do the whole gamut, start to finish, of how to do a book. So if you take it, if you have any inkling that you want to do a book, we're saying, look, a little investment's going to not only change your life, it's going to revector your life. It's going to open doors. It's going to open friendship. It's going to give you a legacy. It's going to be the nicest thing you've got. It's something that you'll do for your kids. We've even got a little part on how to write your autobiography, 22 minutes a day, and in 90 days be done. Because wouldn't you love to know what your great-great-grandparents thought, said, felt, did, and what their superpowers were? Because somebody in your, I don't know anything about your heritage, but somewhere along was a great speaker and probably a mayor or a leader or a governor or a prime minister or something.
Yes, for sure. Like just kind of mayor of our village, so to speak, but very out there, outspoken, was the leader, bang on. Yes. And I have no idea. I've never even seen a picture of him. I've never there's nothing been documented other than just stories that have been passed on. But I would love to read some of his writings, right? And never got the opportunity because no one actually documented it.
The other thing, the subset here is that all leadership is self-leadership. It's top down, inside out. And by that, I mean, look, the first people I bought real estate with are Lindell and Stephen Lair. I'm back in Long Island, New York. I'm making a little money. I've got a mastermind group. They owned the garbage dumps, but they bought real estate and did fixer-uppers. And Lindell and Steve say, hey, look, we bought this thing out in East Islip. We'll sell to you you're not going to believe this. This is 1975, $14,000, $2,000 down. I said, I'll pull the cash out of my pocket. Oh my. Now, the only mistake we made was we should have bought the whole town.
Back then.
3 years later, I sell it for $58,000. And I got to tell you, I am one smart, rich dude, man. All right.
Hey, just out of curiosity, what do you think it's worth right now, Mark?
Oh, well, I'm sure it's worth 300,000, 400,000.
So you mentioned this earlier about the course. It's 12 hours. Is that like, can somebody do it in one sitting? Is it every week? Is it once a week? Like, how does it work?
You can do it as fast as you want because it's available. Once you sign up, it's 24 hours a day. Here's what I promise you. It is so content rich, so dense. So you're going to watch it, come up with an idea. I say take notes all the way through, create a journal because it's going to inspire you. We take you through everything you possibly want to know about how to do titles. And what happens is everybody that we tested on this, because we believe one of the principles we teach is feedback's the breakfast of champions. Once they start writing titles, you become an addicted person writing down titles and subtitles and all that stuff. Same as I see on your whiteboard here, right?
Oh, yeah, I got a couple of whiteboards here, my man. They go right around my office as I continue to just make notes. And then I have the big board there
I can take you in my office and show you that what we got is we got an electric whiteboard because we got so many ideas that we have one of the great electric whiteboards. And you just...
as you were mentioning, you could do it as all in one sitting. It can happen. You could take it slowly. I love that part of it. Where do people go to sign up for the course and get more information?
Just go to markvictorhansen.com and you will be inundated. MarkVictorHansen, DanishWay.com. MarkVictorHansen.com. I don't do three names to be pretentious, but when I used to live back in Southern California when it was still livable before too much traffic and too much craziness, in just in Orange County, there are like 423 Mark Hansens. In Denmark, Denmark. So Hansen is like Smith, right? Whereas you got a name. Are there a lot of those names? What's your ethnicity?
No, not many. Not definitely spelled the way like it. I always say to people, it's like the music, but just spelled a little differently. And so the JAS is unique. The last name is tough for people, Takhar, but we get it figured out. Just call me anything, really. Just make sure you call me. Right? It's one of those things. And so,
yeah, right. Because go ahead.
No, you go first. Go.
What you're saying is one of the things we're teaching is where to find all the business, how to publish the book, everything from self-publishing to vanity houses I cover everything because I've been writing now 44 years and there's, a lot of people teach you to write a book. A lot of people will hustle you to write a book. I'm the only guy that is 59 times #1 New York Times and more #1 in more countries than anybody else.
I love that shit. I love that, Mark.
Well, I got to do this. People say, well, you can't outwrite the Bible. So I went to our publisher and I said, look, we got to do a chicken soup for the soul Bible. And he went, get out of here. Nobody will buy that. I said, okay, so I get it back, right? That I can have it. Because he'd also told me nobody buy chicken soup for the teenage soul. We sold 19 million the first year. He said, I got teenagers that buy CDs, concert tickets, and clothes. They ain't buying that. And it went off the Richter scale. But we do chicken soup for the soul Bible with a different publisher. And we sold 70,000 a week at Walmart. I mean, it just... because it was purple, it was non-threatening. I did a little story to get you in the big story, and it was fun. It was something you got to keep pushing the edge of the envelope. You got to keep having your life's got to have leaky margins, and the only way to do that is be a writer because it wakes up the biggest room in the world, the imagination in which there's no limitation.
I love that. In terms of, you mentioned something, self-publishing or going with the publisher, what's kind of just your feedback or thoughts around the two? Does one self-publish or does one go to a publisher?
I think you have to do both for different reasons.
Okay.
And then also when you're doing it nowadays, you got to do the audio route too. And then you've got to, we talk about how to have an agent and where to get an agent and who the best agents are. And you got to do the agent that, makes the most sense for you. Like we're with a publisher now. Audio is, you're going to love this. I'm with a publisher that does audios and they are the world's, this guy was born in Tunisia and he has sold, when he was back at Simon & Schuster, more audios than all the fiction and nonfiction books combined. So
wow.
He said, look, Mark, I want you to do all this stuff. And what you got to do is give me a title and a theme and then tell me how fast you're really going to do it. And then we're doing all kinds of stuff with him. And he's selling a gazillion because people are in more need of coherent, concise, digestible information. And I'm a master at chicken soup. I said, Jack, we're only doing 3 pages or less because that's how long people have when they're in their bathroom. I'm just being honest with you, or in the bedroom before they go to sleep, right? And so what I teach this, all the stuff we've talked about, you've got to make it very palatable, viable, and readable to the reader. And it's got to be short because everyone's attention span is that long. And more importantly, it's going to end up, everything has to go into the cell phone, which is another transition we're going in. I say it's got to be video centric, then it's got to be smartphone centric. And so what I'm giving you is the future, because it used to be just, look, in the last 60 days, we've had 10 years of change in 2 months. And before that, it's optional to be in the internet. Today, it's mandated to be on the internet. And it's going to stay that way. And hopefully the internet doesn't break down, although you and I both had some internet issues this morning.
With some internet issues earlier today. I appreciate you sticking through it. Really, really means a lot. Now, I want you to leave my viewers and listeners, Mark, with one tip. It could come from the perspective of writing a book, a mindset perspective, a very tactical tip. It's really, the mic is yours.
Thank you. My advice would be that your destiny, everyone watching or listening or hearing our words, has a destiny to write a book and get passionately on purpose about fulfilling that destiny, because the book's going to take you to the next level and the next and the next. And the book will outlast you, but it's going to give you resources, finances, credibility, legacy value that absolutely nothing else on the planet can do. And it's going to make you feel good about you, because you're here for 2 reasons. This is longer than one sentence, but
go.
Yeah. If the Bible, if you believe the beginning of the Bible, then God created, and 28th, you and I are created. Therefore, if you're created in the image and likeness, you're here to create. And create means you better be writing something. And number 2 is you're to contribute something that has lasting value, that's substantial, ongoing, and is going to keep paying you forever. I mean, I get royalties on stuff I did 40 years ago, and that just astounds me. And they're bringing back every tape I've ever done, everything. It just, you go, wow, it's very exciting. It's exciting to be alive. And if you're awake, it's really exciting.
Guys, when you go to Mark's website, get the new course, period. It's a no-brainer. I mean, we're talking to, as I mentioned, the greatest of all time when it comes to this. And then make sure you spend the next 30 minutes, instead of, cut the Netflix down from an hour and a half to an hour. I'm not saying cut it down fully, but spend the next 30 minutes going through the website. Go find all of Mark's past work. I can tell you, I've read it, I've listened to it. It changed the course of my life, not just slightly. My viewers know I always say, if you could just every single day move the needle a little bit, momentum will take over. Just move the needle slightly. But with Mark's teachings, his books, his audiobooks, the seminars, it didn't just move the needle slightly. They were big home runs and grand slams in my life. So Mark, I really wanted to thank you for everything that you've given to me in my life. You were a mentor from afar, and I got to check that off today at my bucket list for an opportunity to speak with you. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. And I want more for all your people than even they know. And when this wakes them up like you and I are awake, they're going to thank us in their prayers.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
This has been the REC Experience Podcast with Jazz Takhar, an REC Canada production.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching and listening. Please take a second right now to subscribe and follow us on whatever podcast platform you're watching or listening. It means the world to me. Thank you.